Hello and welcome to the first of my 4 videos about how to gift wrap. So if your gift wrapping looks like this, and this is the worst example that you might have seen, lots of sticky tape, lots of gift wrapping paper, I'm going to show you how to improve this so that there are no seams visible. You will have no sticky tape visible, and you will have a very neat gift wrapping box. Most of what I'm going to show you will apply to wrapping any other different shapes of gift as well, but we're going to start off with the basics, because if everything else fails and you find it very hard to wrap an awkward shape, stick it in a box and beautifully wrap the box. So just before we quickly start, I want to talk to you about scissors. I always recommend having 2 pairs of scissors available. One you might use as your kitchen scissors, and we'll be using those for cutting your paper. The second pair of scissors is for when you're cutting ribbon. And the reason I say to use 2 separate pairs of scissors is because if you're cutting fabric, ribbon, anything like that, using your kitchen scissors will absolutely leave it frayed. So I have these gorgeous little pair of scissors which I keep separate. The other thing I'm going to mention before we start is sticky tape. Now there are lots of sticky tape types available out there, and I particularly like using a double-sided tape. Now this tape is super sticky, but it is also tearable, and literally it means I can go like that. So gone will be the days where you have to pre-cut and prepare your sticky tape, i.e. stick it all the way along the edge of your table, and then realise in June that you've still got it if you're gift wrapping in December for Christmas. So the first thing we need to do is actually measure and cut exactly how much paper that we need. One of the biggest problems that many people tell me is they end up cutting too much paper, in which case you end up with this bulky bit on either side of your gift wrap box, or they cut too little and they have to start again, which can mean overwhelm, panic. Nobody wants to have to start wrapping a gift again, but a few simple techniques will revolutionise and completely transform the way you do any of your gift wrapping, and it is very, very simple. All you need, obviously apart from your gift wrap and scissors, is a piece of flexible material. In this case I'm using a piece of pre-cut ribbon. And all I'm going to do is take my gift. So I have a box here, I'm going to keep it in landscape, and I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm going to take it from the edge all the way around, back up behind the box, and I'm going to leave a little bit of an overlap so that when we come to wrap, I'll show you exactly why we do that, because we don't like sharp edges of gift wrapping paper at all. So that is how much paper we need to go completely round our gift. So I have my piece of gift wrapping paper in front of me, and I'm just going to lay my ribbon on the edge, and using my paper scissors I'm just going to put a little cut on the side so you can see how much I need there. Now the second measurement that I need to take, I need to know how much is going to go across my box. And I'm going to take my piece of flexible material, so my ribbon again, and I'm going to take it to the edge of my box, over the top and down the other side. Now the thing to remember is I don't need to go all the way around my box this time. I literally just need to go from one edge, across the top and down the other side. So you can see from there, across the top and down. And all we need is that much, which may look very, very small, but I'm going to put it at 90 degrees to where I'd measured my first piece of paper to go all the way around, and I'm going to place a cut there. So now I'm going to cut out my piece of paper, and it will be the exact size that I need to wrap this box. So I'm just going to take all the way up here. So as I said at the start, you can use this technique for any shape of gift. There are some gift wrapping techniques that you will need to allow a little bit of extra paper for, But when you're starting out and getting the basics, using the piece of flexible material, and you can use a piece of gift wrapping paper, you can use a piece of string. I find ribbon is perfect for this. So I'm just going to remove this out of the way. And this is how much paper we now need to wrap this box. Now it may look a lot smaller than what you're used to cutting. I find many people go, that's surely not enough paper. But I'm going to show you that it is. So if you just quickly fold like that, you will see that it goes all the way around, which is that first measurement, and we have enough for the edges. So that is our first technique to learn. Now the second thing that we need to do is obviously to wrap our box. Now when I measured the piece of paper, I allowed a little bit of an overlap at the top. So I might have turned my piece of paper over, because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn over about 5 millimeters so that it looks like that. So we don't have any sharp edges on our finished parcel. So we just fold this piece of paper just like that. And this is the first piece of tape that we're going to use to seal our box. So we're only going to use 3 pieces of tape for this entire box. And this is going to be our first one. So as I said at the start, it is super sticky and it is tearable. So it doesn't need to be a piece of tape that goes all the way across. This is sufficient. And I'm just going to place that on my folded edge. Now I'm not going to peel the back off just yet, because what I need to do is place my box actually in the centre. I'm going to turn it upside down there. And I'm just going to, I like to work away from myself when I'm actually wrapping. And just a quick note on that, if you are wrapping, the best place to do it is actually on a kitchen table or a worktop. I have heard stories of people wrapping on the floor, on duvets, literally just not make it very easy for yourself. And it gives you a bit of a bad back as well. But you will not achieve those nice, neat, sharp corners unless you're using a firm surface. So back to wrapping our box, we have our paper measured, cut, and our first piece of tape used. And I'm just going to lift this up and over, and I'm going to take it to the far end of my box. So it's nice and flush along the edge. Because what most people are tempted to do, just quickly before we stick that down, they will go like this and just stick it. They will stick a piece of tape across the top like that, end of story. But what we're trying to achieve is a nice, neat box. So I'm taking that right to the edge of my box. And I'm going to make sure, obviously, that it stays there. And I'm going to just pull it nice and tight and crease the bit that's closest to me. So I know that if I let go of the paper, there will be a crease in the back. And then I can let go. This bit, the bit that's still left, I'm going to lift up and just using the palm of my hand, just flatten it against the edge of my box and fold it over. Now again, if you notice, I still haven't taken the back off my tape. I'm just going to then lift this up, make sure that my box hasn't moved. And I know now that I can peel the back off my tape, which is easier said than done sometimes, and close my first bit. And that's my box closed with an invisible seam down the edge. Now, depending on the style of gift wrapping paper that you've used, if you've got a nice design like this one, then your seam will be virtually invisible. Now, we don't finish our box like that. We need to close these ends. And again, one of the things that most people tell me is they get to this stage and then they have to wield their scissors and cut lots off the edge. Now, because we've measured our piece of paper perfectly, we shouldn't need to do that at all. So I'm just going to turn the box so it's now facing portrait towards me. And what I can do is if I do have a piece of paper that's catching, so if I just push that there, if it's catching a little bit, just move your gift a little bit. Now, because we didn't stick any tape to the box, we'll be able to move our gift either way if we need to. So I'm going to start by pushing this down, and as you'll see, there's no catching in the section there. And then you can be quite firm with this, depending on the gift wrapping paper that you're using. If you're using a very lightweight paper, be very careful that you don't put your fingers through it. This is a lovely weighted paper, and you can be quite firm to create those nice, neat creases. So fold it like that, so you end up with a fold, and we'll come back to the other end shortly. I'm going to use the palm of my hand and fold in these sections so that it's nice and flush against the edge of my box, and again pressing down quite firmly, and repeat it on the other side. And you can see that I'm starting to get nice neat edges because I'm on the firm surface. So nice crease there. Now again, as we said earlier, it's very tempting just to stick my piece of sellotape on there and stick it down, but actually that doesn't really give you a nice neat finish. So what we're going to do is create what I call an envelope end, and it's very easy to do. You could of course guess, fold it in and stick it down, but I'm actually going to show you a quick tip to make it easier to make sure that it's a nice neat envelope. So I'm going to fold it back on itself and make sure that it meets these down folded edges. And when I'm happy with that, when I turn this back in, I know that it is going to be nice and neat to match my down-sided edges. And this is going to be my second piece of tape. So I'm going to just put a nice sharp crease, take my double-sided tape again, just a small piece, put this across the edge and peel the back off and close the edge. And then we have a nice, neat envelope edge and invisible tape. You haven't got lots of, if we remember back to our gift at the beginning where we've got lots of visible tape, we don't have any showing. So then obviously we need to do the other end, and again we've got no paper catching. Be firm with your creases on the edges, and this time it is a little bit easier because you can actually stand your box on one end as well when you need to create that envelope edge. I'm just going to press that in firmly, and as I said, I'm going to put that on the top so it does make it much easier, and again you've got nice firm creases. Turn it back on itself. Be quite firm. And finally, our third and final piece of tape across the edge. Now, if you're using a particularly heavy weighted paper, and there are some on the market out there, you might find that you need to put tape on the angled edges as well as across here, just to make sure that it all holds in place, because some paper is very, very tough, but in most cases you won't need to. And just a quick tip, many of the supermarket and retail brands now provide a grid on the back of the gift wrapping paper, which really does make it so much easier when you're actually cutting the paper. Obviously this one didn't have a grid on, but it does make it easier to wrap. So that completes the first stage of your gift wrapping. how to measure and cut exactly how much gift wrapping paper you need using your ribbon for the measuring part of your box, cutting the paper and then using 3 pieces of our double-sided tape to close the ends, and then we have an invisible seam down the side. And that is step 1 in all of your gift wrapping skills, techniques. Once you've mastered this part of it, you can then go on to take up and practice some of the more technical skills that come with gift wrapping.